So can you share your screen or should I share it?
Would you mind sharing? This is my work computer and I'm not able
Okay,
to. Thank you.
just let me open your
Sure.
slide. Hmm.
Um, if I can ask if people do you have a paper and pencil available to you just so that you're
Hmm.
able to. Okay, great. Thank you. Be easy breezy. This is not going to
Yeah.
be too hard, hopefully. Um,
Okay,
right.
let's get started.
All right.
Yeah.
Um, sure. So I began with about 10 years ago. I was hired to teach at a school, and they told me that we use art a lot in our curriculum. And I said, "Well, I don't know how to draw. I can't even draw a stick figure." And they said, "Don't worry, we'll teach you." And I never thought that this was something that I could learn, but I learned it really uh, quickly, and I found that it really transformed my teaching, and more importantly, it transformed my learning and how I see the world. Uh, I think we live in a world where we have so much images around us, but we don't pay a lot of attention to them. When we scroll on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, we're looking at things for a tenth of a second, and we don't pay really close attention. So, Nurse Tom, would you mind going, let's see. All right. So
Hmm.
very hold on, yeah, let's take a moment for this image. So
Hmm.
this would be an image that you would look at and you'd spend maybe 2 seconds looking at it. It's an elephant. You've seen elephants before. Wonderful. But there's so much detail that we can look at and capture in a if we take the time to draw it. So let me just make sure that we understand the idea. So what we're going to do is you're going to sketch really lightly, and the way to sketch lightly, don't hold the pencil the way we normally hold the pencil, where it's really close to the tip. Hold your pencil or your pen higher up on the closer to the eraser or to the end. That will mean that you will use a lighter um, grip to sketch the image. Okay. Uh, your goal is not to try and capture the details right away. We want to capture the basic proportions. I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to give a video demonstration before I ask you to do it, so don't worry about it. Uh, the most important thing that you can do when you're going to sketch is make a large sketch. Don't make a small one. And I'm really going to ask all of us to do this. I'm going to do it with you. Um, Nurse Sultan, I'll also ask you to do it, please.
Hmm.
Um, so, and spend most of your time looking at the image. Don't look at your own sketch too much because that is how we get very self-conscious about our work. So if you spend most of your time looking at the image, your brain will succeed at capturing this correctly. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you can turn to the next image,
Hmm.
I would ask you to lightly on your page, just don't worry if it doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line. It's going to be a light vertical and horizontal line. You don't want it to be so heavy that it what do you call it? Uh, Overcomes. If you've got a pencil, great. But if you've got a pen, that's also fine. Just do it lightly and don't worry how neat or how perfect it is. It's okay. The idea is that we're going to use this to give us an idea of where things should be. So when we're looking at this image, for example, if we most of the elephant is in the top left quadrant and the bottom left quadrant. And then the head is almost entirely in the upper right hand quadrant, and the trunk and the front leg are in the bottom right. So that just gives us a sense of proportion as to where things should be. So do not try to draw the elephant as it is. We begin by drawing the geometry of the elephant. So, do you mind scrolling down to the next one, please? So the first your attempt to do is not to try and draw an elephant accurately. Your attempt is to attempt to capture the basic shapes, whether you call it a rectangle, an oval. You want to just capture the once you have the correct geometry, then you can start getting the details right, and you do that by looking at the elephant over and over again. Okay? Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions of what I'm asking you to do?
No, 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 no question yet. I think
Okay,
everything's
great.
going well.
Okay. Just to give you a demo, Nurse Sultan, can you click on the link for the next image? This is just a 1 minute essentially demo so that you can make sure that you understand how to do this. It is a fast forwarded image, but it took me 10 minutes to draw.
Do you hear the sound, or should I?
You don't need to hear the sound, but I mean, the sound is me explaining.
Yeah, electronic. Share sound. Okay. Okay.
So let's test that with this elephant. So I'm not starting with any detail. Draw what they expect to see, not what's actually there. So let's test that with this elephant. So I'm not starting with any details here. I'm just starting with the structure. We're going to start with this odd-shaped rectangle for the body, 4 rectangles for the legs, kind of a square for the head, half circle for the ear, and a rectangle for the trunk. Nothing fancy, just putting shapes where they belong. Now I'm going to start comparing this to the actual image of the elephant. And this is where the mistakes start showing up. Most people are going to try and erase or just start over, but you really shouldn't. The mistakes are useful. They tell us to look closer and pay close attention. So like this, I made this tusk too long. When I really look, the tusk on the far side is shorter because of the angle. So I'm not going to erase it. I'm just going to adjust it. And that moment, that is where the learning is occurring. I just learned something about foreshortening, and I wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't been paying attention to my mistakes. And mistakes are how scientists observe and how they notice what doesn't fit and how they look again. And that's what we want to do in our classes. Most people draw what they expect to see, not what's actually there. So that was obviously a fast forwarded. To make that whole thing took me about 10 minutes of that's it. Yep. Most people draw what
Okay.
but this first image is like what people draw because we have this symbolic representation of what an elephant should look like. So what I'm going to ask you to do is now, like everyone, let's take 5 minutes,
Mhm.
10 minutes. Just I would like everyone to attempt to draw the image. And just see what you notice. And as you keep looking at the elephant, don't get self-conscious. Actually, go down because you can just draw it on the grid. Or yeah,
Here.
yeah. Unless the grid is in your way. Actually, no. Let's get rid of the grid because I want you to look at the
Mhm.
yeah. All right. So does anyone have any questions about what I'm asking you to do?
No.
Okay. So I can let's it is 11:15 my time, so let's
Mhm.
give this and in 5 minutes I'll start asking people what they have noticed.
Sorry, sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Do we need to draw what we see from the elephant, or we need to use that method of yours, square, oval?
Well, if you already know how to draw, I mean that's fine. I'm not going to really tell you exactly how to draw what the but the goal, and this is remember, this is how I teach students how to do this, is the purpose of this is capture don't try to capture the details, capture the geometry and the general proportion of where things are first. That is how you wind up more accurately capturing what you see there. So I would like you to give how I suggested a try.
Okay.
Mm. No.
Nurse Tan, what have you? I'm curious. As you're drawing, is there anything that is standing out to you?
Like this, I got it.
Okay, nice. So tell me, as you're looking at the elephant, what are you noticing? What features or uh, is anything that you're notice is your brain noticing anything that you didn't notice right away? Not about your drawing, but about the elephant as you're looking at it.
I just wanted to mimic frame of the elephant,
Okay.
like outer frame,
Yeah.
but didn't pay attention to the inner frame.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
like just want to get a shape.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it.
So once you got the shape, that's when you can start uh, adding some more detail. So once you've got the frame, then you can start adding some detail to capture the reality. Because we do want to make this as realistic as possible. But the way you do that is by getting the frame first. Once you've got the
Mhm.
frame, then you can start adjusting and changing and making it more close to reality. How many of you like to draw as a hobby or for fun? No, that's okay. I didn't learn how to draw until I turned 40. And so it is never too late to try. And unlike a lot of hobbies, this is one something that you can get better at with 2 or 3 hours of practice. This is going to sound like a silly question, but someone tell me, what color is the elephant?
I
Gray.
think brown.
Gray.
Gray. Okay, is it equally gray all over?
No, no, no. Some of the parts are more like how do you put this? Intense. Some of the parts are like I don't know.
Yeah.
Percentage of gray is high.
Okay, great. So you see, this is where we start to capture the details as our first instinct is, oh, the elephant's gray, but then we start noticing details. It's not equally gray all over. Some grays are darker. Let's take that and let's think through that a little bit more. Where do we notice the differences? Where is it grayer?
Probably in the creases.
Interesting. Okay, so in the creases, you're noticing that there's color variation within the creases, and you're also
Mhm.
noticing these creases. So in science, there's this idea that I teach my students: form follows function, meaning that
Mhm.
if we see a structure that is shaped or formed in a particular way, there probably is some reason for it, some evolutionary reason that might help us understand why that structure exists in that particular form. So how does that apply to this elephant? Well, the color of the elephant in its environment is probably not a coincidence. All of those creases that you're noticing are also probably not a coincidence. So once you have noticed them, then you can start to generate hypotheses about why they might exist. So as we look at this, it starts to make us ask questions like, why is this elephant so wrinkled? Does it automatically mean that this elephant is old? That could be one hypothesis, but could there be other hypotheses? Could there be other reasons for the wrinkles on this elephant that we could help us understand? Anyone feel free to give us a hypothesis. Nazim, what do you?
Maybe it's just the structure of their skin. I'm
Sure.
not sure.
Okay, well, let's. So, what do we generally we can and this is where we can look and see what evidence the environment offers us. Looking at this environment, what do we see?
Hello, teacher.
I'm
I
sorry.
have a crazy idea. I'm not sure, but it sounds crazy.
I love it.
But maybe elephant tries to look like a stone, a big stone.
Okay.
And if there
So,
will be a lion, so it will be confused.
okay.
If
So,
there is a
what
lion
you're
elephant.
suggesting is camouflage. That maybe there's a
Yeah.
camouflage benefit to that color. That makes sense. That's a good starting hypothesis that maybe there's a camouflage benefit to that skin color. I think that that makes sense, and what you're suggesting is in line with reality. It is definitely stone colored. That makes total sense. Nice. That's a good starting hypothesis, and we can work from there and continue to generate hypotheses. Thank you. Does anyone else have any thoughts? Well, let's look at the environment and see what we can see about the environment. What does the environment look like temperature-wise?
I think the grasses.
Okay, so it's in some kind of a grassland, and what else can we, given that we know that this is an African elephant, what else can we assume about its environment?
I think the temperature is very hot
Okay,
around that
great.
places.
Okay,
Mhm.
so
Because it's
Seems-
excellent.
it's a
So
trop-
that temperature probably plays the organisms have adapted to their environment, so we can make that kind of a connection where we think about how the temperature might have informed or might have selected for particular adaptations. So, how might the temperature in where it exists play a role in why it has all of these creases in its skin?
So I think because this elephant, they don't have like a cooling system like us. Us, we are sweating to cool our body. For them, they are sweating, but very slowly or rarely.
Yeah.
So I think they have this skin. How can I put this? It's like it traps the water. First of all, second one, when they evaporate this water from their skin, it helps them to cool down, but slowly, not like us. So the major aim of this skin to protect them from, may say, like the first idea, from the insect or dangerous organism. That's why it's very strong and wrinkled And the second one, due to that hot temperature, it helps them to maintain regulation system.
That is excellent. Now, if I may ask,
Mm.
have you ever studied African elephants before?
Not much, but we
No.
have studied some about it, but not
Okay.
much.
No. So this is good. So what you've just done, you came up with a hypothesis based upon your observation. I didn't have to tell you any of that. Your intuition and your observation coupled with what you collectively knew came up with a hypothesis. But maybe the skin, the creases of the skin help with water retention and cooling. And you happen to be absolutely correct that the all of those creases basically offer greater surface area to the skin, which helps to maintain temperature of the skin for the African elephant. Now, if I had been lecturing a class and I said the skin of the elephant has these creases because it's there for cooling and maintaining the temperature, well, that would not, no one would remember that. You have observed this phenomenon and you discovered that through looking and paying attention. So over 10 minutes, you engaged in the scientific method. You observed an organism. Maybe you didn't have that idea originally, but as you paid attention, you noticed things and then you made connections. And then that offers opportunity for going further and continuing to explore. So, for example, let's think through the logic of this. What would you expect, whether you've studied them or not? There's the two main species of elephants. There's the African elephant and the Asian elephant. What would you expect might be a difference given what your hypothesis about the skin and for retaining moisture? Will the African elephant have the same, excuse me, the Asian elephant have the same kind of skin? What do you think?
Probably not,
Explain,
because
please.
the climate in Asia is more humid,
Yep.
so probably it doesn't need that much moisture.
So what do you hypothesize its skin would look like? We don't need to look at to
It would be more like flat and wouldn't have the same wrinkles, maybe.
that is exactly right. I didn't bring up I should have maybe brought up a picture of it, but actually, Nurse Hassan, would you mind looking up real quick Asian elephant and just
Okay.
yeah. Let's just see if your hypothesis is correct. Yeah, that picture right
This
there is
one?
perfect. Yep. You can see it. Yeah, the left one is the African one, and the
This one is Asian
no.
one?
Hold on. Actually, let's find a different picture. I think it'll be yeah. Sorry,
Mm, let's go.
go to the one. Let's
This
scroll
one?
down. Yeah, yeah. So as you can see, yes, that's great. You can see that the Asian elephant in front has, as you correctly suggested, smoother skin. In a more humid climate, the evolutionary advantage would not be to maximize moisture retention. So the evolving under different conditions would lead to a difference in the structures of these two species. Now, you all just went through a journey where you now know you discovered, I did not tell you this, I did not impose knowledge onto you. You figured all of that out through your own observations, and with your own observations, you were able to answer questions. You hadn't read anything about the elephants. I hadn't prepared you for anything. You didn't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you already knew something about elephants, but for the most part, your ability to pay attention and deeply observe allowed you to come up with hypotheses and absorb knowledge about this particular phenomenon. And so sketching as a tool enables this to happen at all ages and at all levels. I've done this with 6-year-olds, I've done this with 16-year-olds, and every single child, adult who has drawn the elephant has discovered something. So drawing, and we can go back to the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Drawing produces what I call the aha moment. The aha moment is just the moment where you discover something in the image, because our brains do, the way our brains work is there's a lot of information that we're constantly seeing. And so our brain is filtering out most of the information. You see 80% of what is in front of you in a second, but to get that other 20% requires you to look at something for 10 or 20 minutes or longer. I have drawn this elephant 20 times and I discover new things every time. So there's,
You mean, Selim, you mean that like drawing helps us to dive deeply, yeah, like
that's
into the
exactly right.
picture, and like to think about that and mentally direct our mental, like abilities. Yeah, like
That's
because
exactly right.
it's very important in physics also. For example, while you are solving problem,
Yep.
If you can draw what happened,
Yep.
what happens, you can solve the problem. If you cannot draw or imagine it, you
Yep.
cannot solve the problem. Like, yeah, this is, I think, like, yeah, it can be connected to the physics as well.
Absolutely. This, yes, I call this sketching for science. I don't, I'm using a biology example, but this absolutely goes across all subjects that we learn from can use this.
Yeah. Also, I can summarize what you told.
Yeah.
Like, if you students want, like, cannot solve a certain problem, I think it's worth it to draw again and again what happens.
Yep.
And just imagine, like adding some forces, adding some vectors, adding some additional drawings, and draw it again and again
Yep.
until you got the clue of the situation. Am I right?
So I
Yeah.
would not, so I took
Yeah.
physics 3 times in college. And I was, when I was 20, and I didn't understand it. And I think what happens is a lot of people think that science is about memorizing or plugging numbers into a formula and getting a right answer. And so when we think like that, it becomes, we feel like this is something that only a special group of people can do well. And the reality is, anyone can observe, anyone can pay attention. It requires you to actively do this. It's not just passively trying to absorb information like a sponge or passively plug numbers into a formula to spit out a number that you don't understand. It is an active participation. And when you can do this and when you get students to do this, students become more actively engaged in the process of science. So one of the things that I do with my students, if we can go down a couple of, actually, yeah. Can you go down to slide number 11 or 10? Sorry. Yeah. So I use a science journal for myself and for my students. The idea is that you should have a place where you collect your thinking and your observations and just keep them in a single place so that you can see the journey of your thinking over time. This can be anything that you're interested in, your subjects. If it's physics, it can be a series of drawings of vectors and movements. and things like that. If it's biology, it can be phenomena that you know, ecosystems or anything like that. Actually, would you mind scrolling down, please? Yeah. So this would be an example of a student journal capturing this student was interested in grasses in our environment and got some samples and just made simple sketches and simple notes. But those notes, the images, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. By drawing it, you then create in your mind an image that your brain will tie to a tremendous amount of information. Just like I'm really bad with remembering people's names, but I can remember people's faces. Our brains are wired to remember visual information, but so much of how we teach is talking and just trying to learn by listening. And I think that is we're missing the part of our brain that is most powerful at learning and retaining information. And so what I recommend for all students, what I make my students do is they have science journals where most of the information they learn is visual, where I make them draw out the ideas that we're exploring. And it can be whatever you're interested in. You go to slide 13. This is one of my favorite images of all time. This is from Charles Darwin's journal, his science journal. And the reason I love this image so much is if you look in the top left corner, he has the words, "I think." He drew this in 1837. He did not publish the Origin of Species until 1859. This image of the branching of species like a tree captures the whole idea of natural selection so cleanly in this image. It took him 20 years to successfully take that image and translate it into words that he felt confident that other people could understand. But that image alone captures the most important concept of natural selection. It's so powerful, and we as students and teachers vastly underutilize this. We get so caught up in the idea of technology being like so important in learning that we really forget that our brain and our ability to create images that are meaningful to us is the most powerful learning tool that we have at our disposal. Does anyone have any questions before I continue?
No question.
Okay. Let me. So some of the images, you know, I think oftentimes we think of science as such a serious engagement, and it is, but I also think that it's such an incredibly creative and joyous thing. It doesn't have to be just, you know, trying to memorize and stuff information into your brain for a test. Really, you know, I haven't taken a test in 20 years, but I know that I know things because I'm able to draw them and explain them to other people. And that is my test. I create something, and that is how I know that I have learned a new concept. And so the science journal is something that I cannot recommend enough for any teacher to incorporate into their class activity. Because, you know, if you give a kid a test, let's say every month, what do they know? I mean, if you actually, let me ask you a question. Can anyone tell me their favorite assignment that they ever had from school? Like, is there an assignment that you remember that you enjoyed doing that you would share? Anybody?
Assignment for okay.
Some homework
Sorry.
assignment that you're a paper, a thing you had to do in school at some point.
I would say for me it's posters.
Okay,
I
can
really
you tell me
enjoyed.
a specific poster that you made that you remember very clearly?
I think it was for biology. It was very interesting, like you said, like to capture different pictures and understand, like, oh, so this works this way.
Okay. When did you make that poster that you're thinking of?
I think it was eighth grade.
Okay. So you can picture in your mind a poster that you made in eighth grade. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me ask you, what was your favorite test that you took in eighth grade?
I probably couldn't answer that.
Exactly. You can't. Nobody can. Nobody has ever remembered a single question that they have ever taken on any test. Maybe you remember a grade you took, a grade you got, but nobody ever will remember a single thing about a test because a test is not a meaningful measurement of your learning. What it does do well is it measures how much you absorbed in a particular moment, but not what you have absorbed for a long time. I know that this poster, the fact that you can remember it and you can visualize it and you can think about the things that you still find interesting about it all of these years later, that assignment transformed you in a positive way, in a way that no test has ever transformed you. I don't mean to say the tests are bad. It's just science. We have made the mistake of thinking that a test is the correct way of or the most accurate way of measuring what we have learned, and it is clear that it's not. What we really want to do is measure a, a creation and a transformation. And so I think science journals are a wonderful way of doing that. If you do that with your class, every kid can get an inexpensive notebook and they capture their thinking, what they see, what they've noticed, and draw and write. It's doing both. That's where the transformation happens. Um, a couple of years ago, I had four students come to me throughout the year and tell me they were all four, they were ninth graders, and they said to me something like, I used to think I was dumb at science, but now I see I'm actually really good at noticing details in a way that other people aren't. And now I see I could be a scientist, and I never thought I could before. So the idea of if we strip science of all of the technical vocabulary, what is it that we're doing in science? Uh, we're trying to observe reality as accurately as we can, and we're trying to share what we notice as clearly as we can. If you do those two things, you are engaging in the scientific process. And anyone can do that at any age. You don't need to be an expert at anything. Uh, you just need to be able to pay close attention and be focused on what is right in front of you. Um, what I would love to, yeah, if you can go down to the next slide, I think. Oh, no, sorry, go down. Some of these are a little out of order. Yeah, okay, this is the one I'd love. Yeah. So, um, I know that you're not in a classroom yet, but I would love to ask you if you were going to teach a subject, how could you imagine using sketching in a 10-minute activity for a particular subject you might want to teach? I'd just love to hear your thoughts. So, like Nurse Otan suggested, teaching gravity or physics by using vectors and lines. That would be a simple way of using sketching to help understand an idea.
Yeah, like every time adding new components, like going into the details.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Teacher, may I answer?
Yes, please.
So, I remember one activity from my school. It was from my elementary school. So, teacher was asking in informatics to sketch our computer of our dream. Like
I love
everyone
that.
was doing their own computer. Like someone got their whole computer as a car. Someone got Pinky. Someone got something cute. So I would love to do something like this because they would do it with a lot of creativity on their own, and it would open their minds to computers.
That is a wonderful assignment, and you had a wonderful teacher. And the fact that this was in elementary school so long ago and you still remember it tells me how powerful this assignment was. That's fantastic. Yes, I think drawing equipment accurately is something that I make my students do. I make students draw like the microscope as a way of learning the parts of the microscope. But then you added this other component to it of using your own imagination to make something new. That is a wonderful way of seeing what students can actually apply once they have learned something. I do that with an assignment where I have students, after we've spent time sketching animals and learning about genetics, I ask them, okay, imagine you are genetically engineering a uh, an animal of your choice and explain how that animal would look different after you've genetically engineered it. So some of them, like one student made, they took, they made a dog and added, he wanted to find out which dogs, which species on the planet could have the most sensitive sense of smell. And it turns out elephants can. They can smell water for miles away. So he took genes from an elephant and inserted them into a dog. And so he imagined, okay, now this dog can smell as clear as well as an elephant, and maybe that means it would transform its nose to be more like a, not exactly like an elephant's trunk, but sort of like an elephant's trunk. In that activity, in that creative activity, he was showing through his thinking that he understood the ideas of genetics, the ideas of how those genes could transfer and how those might have other repercussions, because in just trying to get the sense of smell improved, it did transform the physical structure of the dog. So there's a lot of ways to add creativity to science. Science does not just need to be memorizing formulas or spitting back balancing equations. It doesn't have to be just constant accounting. It can be, and it should be, that kind of creative expression that you mentioned. Um, I would love to hear a couple of other ideas. How might you teach using this?
Maybe to draw a food chain, like with real animals.
Excellent. Yes. So, uh, tell me more. Like what would you incorporate?
So basically, in my school, when we wrote a food chain, it was just names. For example, eagle,
Oh,
birds, big bird, small bird, and maybe for the first time we can draw these birds or
excellent.
wild animals. Why not?
I,
And students will memorize it better if their first time was drawing.
I completely agree, and I would love to add to that. Uh, by drawing it and drawing it as accurately as you can, uh, without getting too caught up in how beautiful the drawing is, it helps a student to understand things like the size and scale. So, for example, if a bird is, you could say, oh, birds eat mice and fine. But then if you look at the size and differences of the two, it helps a student to understand details like, oh, wow, this mouse is really small. This bird must need to eat a lot of them in order to give it the energy that it needs in order to fly. So there's all of these other logical implications that come when you spend time looking at it. If all you do is tell the kid this is the chain, they will learn it just for the sake of the test and then never remember it ever again. Yes, that's so cycles, ecology, how things connect, food webs, food chains is an excellent place for using sketching. This works also for history, for social studies. Having kids draw statues or artwork that other people have done helps people notice details. I think really what's really important is our brains, especially for kids who grew up on smartphones and on Instagram, where you're looking at something for not even a whole second. This is a way of slowing down and paying attention to what you are noticing in the world. So I would love you to do me a favor if you feel comfortable. There's no obligation. I would love it if you took a picture of your photo with writing down something that you noticed as you drew it, and then sending it and emailing it to me. I would love to just see, obviously I can't see your work here, but I would love it would make me incredibly happy if I could just see what you noticed, what you discovered, what was your aha moment for this activity. And then as a long-term homework assignment, I would love it if you got yourself a journal, something small that you could carry with you, and just without being precious about this, just drawing things that you notice. There's so many, like, everything is unique, just like every human is unique. Every coin has got little scratches, it's got wear and tear. Everything has a uniqueness to it that is worth noticing and paying attention to. So if I could give a lifetime homework assignment, it would be for you to get yourself a science journal and just 5 minutes, 10 minutes sketching and writing what you notice. If you do that, it will enrich your life tremendously, and you will notice so much more of the things around you. And I think if you do that, then when you have your students do it, it also enriches them. So that's my spiel to. I'm not an art teacher. I'm not a good artist, but I have learned how to pay closer attention to the world around me, and I'm never bored because everything around me has an opportunity to observe and pay close attention to and ask questions. So that is my gift and hope to each and all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No worry. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, students. I think, yeah, this was like really fascinating. And I hope you will get some feedback. Salim, you will get some pictures from students. Yeah,
I
maybe.
really hope so. Yes, please.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you so much,
Yeah.
students. Now we have, let's have a break. Let's come back at 9:20. Okay? Yeah, take your tea and have a break, and
Thank you.
come back at 9:20. Yeah. Thank you so much, Selim. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Take care.
appreciate that. Yeah.
It's my pleasure. This was wonderful. Thank you. You really made my day.